Welcome to a new video where we want to do a comparison between those two bad boys, the Xiaomi 14 Pro versus the Google Pixel 8 Pro. So let's get started. Here we have those two phones and you can see the camera specs, and don't worry, I will go outside with them to take some shots as well. Here you can see the camera specs of them, basically featuring a triple lens setup on both 50 megapixels, which is quite nice. I think similar size of main camera sensor there as well, which is also quite nice. And then we have some front-facing shooters there as well, and I think you go outside and start off with the front-facing videos. The Xiaomi 14 Pro front-facing video, internal mics. I don't have external mics right now because it's just too cold and I don't want to clip them in here. So internal mic, front-facing camera, 4K 30. We can also record 4K 60 frames per second. Front-facing camera of the Google Pixel 8 Pro. We have better HDR already. We have autofocus on the front-facing camera. It doesn't stabilize so well as the Xiaomi 14 Pro, at least during recording. Internal microphones, what do you think about the quality here? And we have even a zoom. We can slightly zoom in if we want to. So what do you think about the quality here of the Google Pixel 8 Pro? Taking a look at the videos, the main camera video is almost the same. Again, we have a bit warmer colors on the Xiaomi. We have a bit more contrasty kind of look that I don't like so much on the Pixel 8 Pro, but nevertheless, both are basically on par in terms of HDR and stabilization on the main cam. And the same goes almost for the ultra-wide angle. Yes, the Pixel 8 Pro has the advantage of a more ultra-wide angle with 12mm versus the 14 of the Xiaomi 14 Pro. Nevertheless, I think both are doing a fine job in HDR and stabilization as well as colors. What do you think? Here we have the photos. On the left always the Pixel 8 Pro, on the right always the Xiaomi 14 Pro, and we start with portrait shots here. And what you can see here on first glance, this is by the way done with 50mm or 2x crop on the main camera sensor on both, because they don't have an optical 2x zoom, is that we have way warmer yellowish, maybe even greenish kind of colors on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, where we have much more realistic colors on the Pixel 8 Pro. However, when I zoom in, what we can clearly see here is that the Pixel 8 Pro is sharpening my face up a lot, and this looks really bad, I would say, where the Xiaomi 14 Pro is keeping it a little bit more real in this regard. It is keeping it a little bit softer there, so it looks a bit more pleasant on the Xiaomi 14 Pro in comparison to the Pixel 8 Pro. And this is not the only case. When we go in here to the 3.2x zoom, it's a crop on the Pixel 8 Pro still, because the Pixel 8 Pro only has a 5x optical zoom, but the Xiaomi 14 Pro has an optical zoom here. We have way more bokeh on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. It's fake bokeh, of course. When you zoom in, it looks pleasant there. Again, this yellowish, warmish kind of color, much more realistic color on the Pixel 8 Pro. And here you can really see how much sharpening up and reconstruction of my face the Pixel 8 Pro is doing. And yeah, which one would you choose? I think it's pretty clear that the Xiaomi 14 Pro looks more pleasant to the eye, where yeah, the colors might be a bit better on the Pixel 8 Pro, but this is like overdoing it in terms of sharpness. Looks really bad there. And then we have 35mm, which is more like of a classical portrait kind of shot. It's a mode on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, where on the Pixel 8 Pro I have to manually do it, cropping in 1.5x from the main camera sensor. We get nice background blur on both. I think both are doing a fine job. It's quite a bit soft on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, and here I think I like the Pixel 8 Pro a little bit better because we have a tad more sharpness there. It's not overdoing it so much here, and we still have this very realistic colors. But when it comes to the cutouts, you can clearly see the Xiaomi is doing a better job in portraits than the Pixel 8 Pro. Here we have bad cutouts on the Pixel 8 Pro, so I think the portraits are a clear win for the Xiaomi 14 Pro. Let's take a look at close-up shots. Quite interesting because the Pixel 8 Pro is utilizing its ultra-wide angle for this. The Xiaomi 14 Pro can utilize its 3.5 times zoom, optical zoom, so telemacro capabilities. So we have to get a little bit more closer on the Pixel 8 Pro where we can be a bit further away, and you can see the different perspective that we gain from that. And the Xiaomi 14 Pro looks much more natural there in this case because of this telemacro, where in the Pixel 8 Pro it looks a little bit distorted there and a bit of different. In terms of detail level here, this little mushroom is nicely in focus, maybe a little bit more details than on the Pixel 8 Pro. Xiaomi 14 Pro has also the ultra wide angle that it can utilize for macro like shots, but don't do this. You can see you can get even closer than on the Pixel 8 Pro in terms of close focusing distance, and the perspective is more distorted then, but it's not really sharper, not more detailed there. And I have this weird artifact here, not sure if it's light or some processing issues that we have there. I'm not even sure if anything is really sharp there on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, where on the Pixel 8 Pro this is nice and sharp. Nevertheless, I think I can also get a bit closer with the telemacro, and I did, and you can see clearly that we have lots and lots of nice information there also in the telemacro field. So overall, I think more flexibility you will have with the Xiaomi 14 Pro, where the Pixel 8 Pro only has the ultra wide angle for this macro like shot, but it's doing a quite fine job. So yeah, maybe slightly better on the Xiaomi 14 Pro here in this regard. Main camera sensor, definitely a win for the Pixel 8 Pro. Better main camera sensor, better HDR. I put the Xiaomi 14 Pro into the Leica Vivid mode because this tends to give a little bit better HDR, a bit more lifted up shadows, and can compete more with the vivid and more processed kind of look that we have on the Pixel 8 Pro. But here you can also clearly see that not only the HDR is a bit better working on the Pixel 8 Pro, where we have overblown highlights here on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, but also the colors are a bit more warmer on the Pixel 8 Pro, where we have a bit more bluish, cooler colors on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. When it comes to the background there as well, you can clearly see again the better HDR, where we can see a bit of lifted shadows on the Pixel 8 Pro that are simply dark on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. Ultra wide angle, quite interesting. We have a much wider field of view on the Pixel 8 Pro, and yeah, on first glance also the raised shadows look a bit more pleasant. The punchy colors also look nice. I would give it to the Pixel 8 Pro, but there's a huge difference here in terms of sharpness. Just like zoom to the Pixel 8 Pro, you can see how soft it is and how much sharper the Xiaomi 14 Pro here is. I'm not sure what's going on the Pixel 8 Pro. I don't remember it being so bad in comparison, but in this case the Xiaomi 14 Pro is winning clearly against the Pixel 8 Pro for some reason. And yeah, everything is out of focus on the Pixel 8 Pro, and the Xiaomi is doing quite a bit of better job. But again, we have a bit of better HDR on the Pixel 8 Pro and a bit of more contrasty look that you can clearly see here, where it's like raising the contrast like to oblivion, and also much bluer colors on the Xiaomi 14 Pro with a bit more shadows here and there. Let's take a look at zoom shots. This is now 3.5 times zoom. On the Pixel 8 Pro, it's just a crop of the main camera sensor. On the Xiaomi 14 Pro, it's a native zoom. And what we can clearly see is here, nice focus, nice everything nice and sharp. But the Pixel 8 Pro is not so far off. Yes, here in the foreground, you can clearly see there's a bit of pixelation going on there. It's a bit of like stretching it a little bit, especially also the ship there in the background there. But yeah, from the colors, the difference again, warmer colors on the Pixel 8 Pro, a bit cooler colors on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. Now 5 times is an optical zoom on the Pixel 8 Pro, and on the Xiaomi 14 Pro it is crop in. And what we can clearly see is now it shifted. We have warmer colors, especially in the background. You can clearly see it on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. The difference here in terms of detail levels is going towards the Pixel 8 Pro again, with a bit of more sharpness, and the Xiaomi 14 Pro a bit softer, but it's not so much of a difference here. And I would even say that it is basically the same as the Pixel 8 Pro at 3.5 times, 3.2 times actually, is competing very nicely with the Xiaomi 14 Pro's native optical zoom. And here the same, the 5 times can very much compete with the Pixel 8 Pro's native zoom. But when it comes to 10 times, then the Pixel 8 Pro shows a little bit its muscles there. But it's also, we can see quite a bit soft on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, but it's not such a night and day difference there. It's a bit of process on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. So we reach really the limits of this camera system, where the Pixel 8 Pro is winning. You can clearly see it here, also much more natural on the Pixel 8 Pro. So this is a much huger difference than that we saw before. So in terms of zoom and reachability, the Pixel 8 Pro wins there because we have more flexibility, because the 3.2 times, yes, it's a bit sharper on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, but it's negligible. And I think the Pixel 8 Pro, thanks to its 5 times, very good 3 times zoom, basically from 2 times to 5 times, very good super zoom resolution, or how they call it. That's doing quite a good job, can compete with the Xiaomi 14 Pro in this regard, and goes up to 10 times and can utilizes its 5 times optical zoom, and then produces better results than the Xiaomi 14 Pro. So what we see here is Pixel 8 Pro, better main camera sensor for sure, better HDR there. In terms of colors, I like it a bit more warmer than bluish, but this is like a matter of taste. And zoom, I think, is a big win for the Xiaomi 14 Pro, where for the Pixel 8 Pro actually, where the Xiaomi 14 Pro wins is the ultra wide angle that somehow on the Pixel 8 Pro is a bit disappointing. But yeah, I have to figure out what's going on there. Otherwise, the Pixel 8 Pro with its larger field of view might be better than the Xiaomi 14 Pro. However, you have to like this more raised kind of shadows, and the Xiaomi has a bit more contrasty kind of look here and there, where not always the contrasty look is better, but especially like, for example, on faces, where we saw in the portrait shots, the more contrasty kind of look doesn't work so well for that. Otherwise, what's your opinion? Write it down in the comments. This is now the Xiaomi 14 Pro, and this one has a special night mode, 4K 24 frames per second, together with its very large aperture of f1.4 and a pretty large sensor. What do you think about this one here? Walking towards the light, I'm standing right underneath the light right now, and now I'm walking away from the light in the background. How is it handling exposure here? What do you think about the internal microphones and the stabilization? And now I'm in the dark and turning around, the dark now in the background and the light shining on my face. What do you think about the quality here of the Xiaomi 14 Pro? A nighttime video with the Google Pixel 8 Pro. Default settings 4K 30 frames per second. I'm walking towards the light, and now I'm standing under the light here. What do you think about its quality? Also using the internal microphones, the light now in the bag. How does it handle the exposure here, and how does it look like when I'm moving into the dark and the light now in front of me? What do you think about the quality here of the Google Pixel 8? Night photos. Let's take a look at the main camera sensors. What we can see here on the Pixel 8 Pro is again a little bit brightened up shot on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, a little bit darker, a bit more realistic maybe on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. When we zoom in, we can see the difference in terms of details, and here it becomes very interesting, because here we can see the superiority of the Xiaomi 14 Pro's main camera sensor. Where daylight with HDR, we had a little bit of an issue with the Xiaomi 14 Pro. I think at nighttime it shows its superiority here in terms of details that you can clearly see all over the place. Might be processing, but I think it is like way sharper and better processed. Here you can see, especially with the trees, for example, much more details on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, where it's a bit of soft on the Pixel 8 Pro. And we see a little bit of noise going on already. That we also have a little bit of noise on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, but as it's not brightening things a little bit too much up, I think it's working a little bit better there on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. Also see this overblown highlights here on the Pixel 8 Pro that we don't have on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. So at nighttime it is working a bit better on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. Quite interesting. Let's go to the next shot, which is 5 times optical versus 3.2 times optical. Quite interesting. Again, I think the Xiaomi 14 Pro is doing a fine job, but the Pixel 8 Pro is just simply better there. Yet it is sharpening things up a little bit there, but it's so good. Even if I go into 3 times zoom, which is like 3.2 times zoom actually, to compare it with the Xiaomi 14 Pro, yeah, it's a bit of a different motive, but still it is a lot sharper. You can see a little bit more of the text there, and also the background there. Yes, it's a bit overblown highlights there, but the texts and so on are a bit crispier there as well, and it appears to be a little bit better than the zoom on the Xiaomi, which is quite interesting. Now let's go to the ultra wide angle, quite interesting here as well, where I think we have a bit of a weird color shift on the Pixel 8 Pro. Yes, the colors here on this fuel station are a bit of more bluish, but he made everything bluish here, which is not the right thing to do it here. The Xiaomi 14 Pro made everything a bit yellowish, but it's more consistent looking than this like suddenly completely bluish kind of look that we have here on the Pixel 8 Pro, where I think it failed a little bit. Otherwise, in terms of detail levels, they are on par. Maybe with the slight edge because of the HDR and rendering here on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. So I would give this maybe the slight edge again. Also in terms of sharpness here, like, look how soft it is in comparison to the Xiaomi 14 Pro. So the 14 Pro, I think, has a slightly better ultra-wide angle in this regard. Selfies are quite interesting because here the Pixel 8 Pro did not turn on the front screen illumination, where the Xiaomi 14 Pro decided to do this. The Pixel 8 Pro, however, turned on night mode, so longer exposure here. That might not always work. As you can see, it's a bit soft, and in comparison to the Xiaomi 14 Pro, I think the Xiaomi 14 Pro is working a little bit better. However, it's handling the HDR a bit better there, where we have overblown highlights all over the place on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. And I think also in daylight that the Pixel 8 Pro is behaving a bit better in terms of selfie cam. Also, the selfie cam has autofocus, which is quite nice. Otherwise, the Xiaomi 14 Pro is almost on par there with the Pixel 8 Pro, so I would give them the same kind of points there in this regard. And then the ultra wide angle again, to see the difference here, Pixel 8 Pro brightening things up a lot more. You can see a lot more here of this skyscraper, where it's a bit dark on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. It's a bit wider, of course, also on the Pixel 8 Pro, but yeah, when you take a look at HDR, better on the 14 Pro, I think. A bit soft again here on the Pixel 8 Pro. So yes, the ultra wide angle I have to give to the Xiaomi 14 Pro, and this means I have to change my score. So let's talk about the conclusion. The conclusion and ranking. TLDR, the Xiaomi 14 Pro has 4.335 points here right now after this test, and the Google Pixel 8 Pro has 4.320001 point. So basically the Xiaomi 14 Pro wins against the Google Pixel 8 Pro. Where does it win? First of all, main camera photo quality is a slight tad better on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. You don't see it so much in daylight, where we have a bit of better HDR on the Google Pixel 8 Pro, but at nighttime, at dim lit situations, faster shutter speed, the Google Pixel 8 Pro cannot keep up with the Xiaomi 14 Pro in this regard. The Xiaomi 14 Pro is just simply sharper and has more details there, and this sensor is just a little bit better. So especially in those like challenging situations, you get better photos with the Xiaomi 14 Pro. The ultra wide angle flipped, because we had before the ultra wide angle being a bit better on the Google Pixel 8 Pro with 4.2 points, and this is now going down to 4.1 point, and the Xiaomi 14 Pro raises over the Google Pixel 8 Pro with 4.2 points. So they exchanged the spot there for sure. We have slightly better ultra wide angle. It's not so ultra wide as the Google Pixel 8 Pro, but the Google Pixel 8 Pro has some focusing issues. Sometimes it's getting very, very soft all over the frame. And I think the Xiaomi 14 Pro with its latest software update, by the way, I was testing this with the software update HiPowerOS 1.025. We have now HiPowerOS 1.026 out after this test has been done. So maybe they improved a little bit even more, but I think they improved the ultra wide angle a bit on, and the processing there a bit on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. This is why the ultra wide angle scores higher there than in earlier tests. In zoom camera photo quality, I think the Google Pixel 8 Pro is a little bit, not a little bit, just like 0.2 times better than the Xiaomi 14 Pro. First of all, we have the higher zoom range with 5 times optical one. That 5 times optical one looks a bit better than the 3.2 times zoom cropped in. However, it looks almost on par, maybe slight edge to the Xiaomi 14 Pro at 3.2 times zoom, where the Google Pixel 8 Pro is just like using computational photography, its main camera sensor crop in, and maybe a little bit of its zoom sensor to get a little bit more details there. It is so close that, yeah, I would even say that you don't notice the difference if you don't pixel peep beyond 100% on the image to see the difference there. The only big advantage for the Xiaomi 14 Pro is that its zoom lens can also do macro capability. It has macro capabilities. You have the possibility to zoom in very closely here, but this is not helping it overall as a zoom camera. This is one good feature, but I think overall the zoom camera photo quality on the Google Pixel 8 Pro is better. It is better because, first of all, 5 times optical, and then beyond up to 10 times optical, the Google Pixel 8 Pro can really perform here in a way better form than the Xiaomi 14 Pro can. And I think Xiaomi should upgrade here their camera sensor, and I think maybe the camera optics as well. Periscope zoom is always a little bit better than, I would say, the normal zoom that we have here on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. Video recording quality is basically on par. Yes, the Xiaomi 14 Pro is a little bit better in terms of colors. I like it not being looking like a zombie like on the Pixel 8 Pro, but overall I think they are basically on par. There's not much of a difference that you can see there. Autofocus performance the same. Not much of a difference. Quite interesting, the front cam. I give it a little bit more points on the Pixel 8 Pro, even though in my night photography I think the Xiaomi 14 Pro looked a bit better there, but usually we have a bit of better HDR on the Pixel 8 Pro. The Xiaomi 14 Pro is not bad there, but with the advantage of autofocus, we have quite cool effects that we can get and quite a blurry background that we can get off the Pixel 8 Pro, which is more natural than the one on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. Nevertheless, very close together, but I think the Pixel 8 Pro still has a bit of a notch in terms of front camera. Camera UI is a win for the Xiaomi 14 Pro. However, we have just simply more pro features there. We have a little bit easier to use UI. I don't like the Pixel camera UI so much. It's a bit confusing with a button on the top for configuring stuff and a button on the bottom to configuring stuff if you're holding it in landscape position, and I always confuse them. I always have to click on one or another, and don't have this issue at all on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, where I know the more advanced settings are available via a swipe or an extra button, then I can click on the opposite side of the display. In terms of extra features, I think also clear win for the Xiaomi. We have just simply more features. Quick shot feature, for example, is quite nice, where we can choose to use the power button to directly go into the camera app and have 35mm pre-focused, or we can use the volume key down 2 times to directly take a shot in this quick shot mode. Quite nice of a feature. And some other little features and nitpicks that we have: the sharpness that we can control on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, the saturation that we control there. It is something that, yeah, the Google Pixel 8 Pro has now also those Pro mode features, but I think the Xiaomi 14 Pro, also with the feature of enabling focus peaking and such things, is still a leap ahead, a little bit ahead of the Pixel 8 Pro. So this leads us to this conclusion, and let's take a look at the ranking list. There we can see, I have them marked here. As you can see, they basically switched positions. Before we had the Google Pixel 8 Pro slightly better than the Xiaomi 14 Pro. Now we have the Xiaomi 14 Pro, thanks to its updates and so on, slightly better than the Google Pixel 8 Pro. Actually, it is very close together. As you can see, 4.32 versus 4.335 points. Very close together there. And yeah, the Xiaomi 14 Pro is climbing up the ranks. I think it still has a worse camera sensor than the Vivo X90 Pro Plus. It has the better ultra wide angle. Zoom camera quality on the Vivo X90 Pro Plus is a tad better there. We have the same kind of video recording quality. Autofocus performance is even a bit worse on the X90 Pro Plus. We have some issues there. Front camera is a huge improvement on the Xiaomi 14 Pro still, where the Vivo just simply cannot compete. The camera UI on the Vivo is slightly bit better there in terms of features. Also a little bit more features that are cramped into the Vivo X90 Pro Plus there, with options like, for example, in video mode, just to turn off the noise reduction. which works tremendously in terms of giving you nice details, especially also in low light situations where get a bit of noise, but you gain so much more details and less of the smearing effects and so on, because we don't have this aggressive kind of noise reduction there in video mode. It is still not available on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. And it's a nice feature on the Vivo X90 Pro Plus in that regard. Otherwise, the Xperia 1 Mark V is down here, also on same par as with the Xiaomi 14 Pro, with the main camera sensor, and the Google Pixel 8 Pro is slightly a bit worse than the main camera sensor. Performance in terms of ultra wide angle is on par with the Google Pixel 8 Pro, and when it comes to the zoom camera quality, however, the 1 Mark V is a bit worse there. However, I have to do a retest of the Xperia 1 Mark V after the latest update, Android 14. I think they improved a little bit there, also in terms of zoom camera quality. That might even catapult it to the Xiaomi 14 Pro series, maybe even beyond. We have to check this out. This will be also done at one point. Video recording quality is at 4.3. This probably also changed and will be improved there. So this is the next kind of thing that will maybe surpass the Pixel 8 Pro. We have to see this, but it will get a little bit more points, I'm pretty sure, on the 1 Mark V. The next time I will check it out. Otherwise, you can see it's basically in the same kind of ballpark. We can see here for 4.355 points we have on the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, Honor Magic 5 Pro, also in this ballpark there, Mate 50 Pro. You can see they're very, very close together there. So it's a very, very hard race there. But the Xiaomi 14 Pro improved a little bit there, and I think surpassed the Google Pixel 8 Pro here. You can see main camera quality is better, ultra wide angle is better. It falls apart or falls short a bit in zoom camera quality, but the rest is almost the same. Good phone, the Xiaomi 14 Pro, but also the Google Pixel 8 Pro. Also, even if it's losing here, it's a very good phone indeed. So what is your opinion? Write it down in the comment section. That's everything for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Until the next time, bye.